Hey guys, it's Lindsay Sutherland here, business consultant, and I want to help you today with systemizing your business. When people think about that, it's one of those things they think they need, but they're taking the time and it's just overwhelming to go through every process. So we're going to break it down on this playlist. We're going to break it down into micro systems. Today, I want to talk about social media. Social media is one of those hot buttons. People know they need to be on there, but they often put it off till the very last thing. And why is that? Because a couple reasons I hear. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to do it, create like creative stuff. And I don't have the time to post, right? And I don't want to pay to outsource it. All of these are valid and understandable reasons for your situation. But that's why this microsystem is going to help you, because when I share this with business owners, they go, "Oh, that makes so much sense. Yes, that's what I'm going to do." Okay. So, what I want to do is break it down into a few steps. We're going to tackle all of those obstacles. And then at the end, I'm going to share with you a different business model. So, some businesses are pretty consistent or have maybe a slow season, but for the rest of the time, it's pretty consistent. There are some businesses, though, that have a peak season where everything is chaotic. And I want to make sure you guys have a clear process that could work for you in that moment. Okay. So grab a pen and paper because you might hear some really good nuggets that you want to write down. Step one is coming up with a framework for your social media. Now, if you are very loquacious and you're good with words, this will be super easy for you. But if you struggle, I'm going to teach you a really simple hack to making this a no brainer for you. Okay. I love theme days. So whenever I get in a funk or I'm like, I don't know what to post, defaulting to things like Motivation Monday, Tech Tip Tuesday, Winning Wednesday, Thriving Thursday. I know it sounds corny and cliche, and I wouldn't put that in my post. I'm not going to say it's Winning Wednesday and here's my post. It's to get my brain focused on what am I going to say on a Wednesday. Okay, so it gives me some sort of a creative juice bump. Now, in this case, a framework, this is how I will build a framework out. And I like to batch content. So I will create a framework for a month and quarter. And if your business is cyclical, like you have a season like Christmas maybe is a big season for you, there is another system I want to tell you about, and that's going to be at the end because it's unique to that one business. But for the most of us, we're pretty consistent every day in what we do. This is how we go about it. So I'm old fashioned a little bit. I am also tactile. So I will print off a blank calendar off of the internet, like a PDF version, and I map out what I want to say. Now, if you want to post, a couple of days a week, like 3 days a week, then choose what days you're going to do. So you have a blend, kind of maybe put a highlight around those squares, and then use your themes. Or maybe another way I used to do it for a client was I would do quotes about once every other 1.5 weeks. We would post a reel 2 to 3 times a week. We would post stories. I would just put what kind of post I wanted on that. A carousel post, static post, feel good post. I call it like a transformational post. I would put the type of post. Or if I'm really stuck, I do the themes. Themes can be another way to go. So you want to build this framework, because once you have the framework and you have your talking points, you know your business, you should have roughly 2 or 3 pillars that you talk about. So for me, example, as a business consultant, I talk a lot about mindset and I talk a lot about systems and strategies. These two things together make for a thriving business. So my pillars of content center around mindset and systems and strategy. Okay. That's where it comes down more to the type of content I'm creating. And it also helps me to be more consistent if I have like my theme days, because I love posting motivational stuff and I could do that every week. The more consistent you can be, the better. However, there is something you should know. You might want to do a little research on the individual platforms if it's meaningful to you. One thing that I have heard from people is like, it's so overwhelming to be on all the platforms. And I totally understand that as well. So I have a couple tips for you. Tip number one is just focus on 1 or 2. That's it. If that's all your brain can manage, focus on 1 or 2, especially if one's very video heavy like TikTok and one is more static heavy like Facebook. Kind of 2 different types of content. Now Facebook and both, you can post both different kinds, but TikTok does better with the videos and Facebook seems to do better on static posts, right? So you want to have a blend and maybe you want to just focus on both. And if you don't want to have to deal with the engagement, because that's another big component, is getting in there and talking to people, right? So I'm just saying, choose one or two platforms that make you feel good. Then I would, now that's one tip. Tip number two is use a system like bizinaboxsolutions.com. It's my CRM and it does a whole bunch of things, but one of the things that it does is it has a social media scheduler. And that social media scheduler allows you to post on Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, I think I already said that, YouTube, Pinterest, Google My Business. I mean, there's just so many integrations with it. And you don't have to pay extra. Like some social media planners, you pay like for access to multiple channels. You get you get access to all the channels. You get unlimited posts. You can also schedule reoccurring posts. Okay, so this is really important. So when you're doing your framework, I like to map it out for a month, and I'm going to get to how long this should take in a moment. But you can also look at your quarter, because say about 20% of your posts are sales oriented, so to speak. You might want to put them on a repeat cycle, because listen, only like 10% of your followers are seeing your content. So repeating your content occasionally is not the end of the world. If you can take some posts strategically and map them out so they repeat about every 90 to 120 days, that ultimately compounds, and it means that you can post less over time, or you can post farther out into the future, so that should something crazy happen, you got chaos in your business, or you're on vacation, or whatever, sickness in the family, that happens too. Kids got something going on. You can take a break and not feel like this slump and you got to restart. It's just going while you're busy. So that's a huge and handy tool. Now, the next step is creating the content. So you've got your framework. And by the way, if you're stuck on, I don't even know what my talking points are, like Lindsay, you said there's talking points and I should know them, but if I don't know them and I don't know what to say, or I don't know how to articulate my messaging, I invite you to book a consult with me. It's called a content mapping session. So in about 90 minutes, we can map out a whole year's worth of content. I can also give you the talking points and some like idea generators that are going to get you going on your own. So you can inquire about that at bizinaboxsolutions.com. All right. So now moving on to the actual creation of the content. So as a social media manager, when I very first launched my independence, I guess you could say, I started out doing social media management for companies. And I could sit down in about 6 to 7 hours and map out, create, and schedule a month's worth of content. I was clear on my talking points. I had that beforehand. And so what I did is I just took my calendar and my framework. I had mapped out what I wanted for the month, and then I went into an Excel spreadsheet, and I just made the posts, and I would go make the visual, and then I would make the copy to go with it. And then after all that was done and the client approved it, I would go in and schedule. So that's essentially, how long a month's worth of content should take you if you are decent with like Canva. Now, if you're one of those people who are like, I suck at graphics, then one thing I've done in my business, just because I'm busy and I don't always have time to do this kind of thing, I've outsourced it to a graphics designer or a social media manager. And I said, I just want you to do graphics. And in this case, I wanted her to make me, I think I paid her for a lot of graphics. It was like 12 carousels and 12 static posts. So times that by 2. So it was 48 for like $500, I think it was. And my intention was to use those over a 90-day to 120-day time frame. So for $500, I have content for the next, I almost say 6 months, because I went ahead and ended up sprinkling in some of my other content that wasn't even her graphics as I went, videos and other things. So that's really a reasonable rate when you think about it. So if you just have some pillars of content, you want them to structure it around, they can do amazing things with that. Okay. So that's my tip for getting the content created. And then the scheduling, I've already told you about Biz in a Box Solutions and using a scheduler as a tool. The other thing too I want to mention is AI. So there, like if you don't want to be in your reels, there is a check out syllabi.io. You can make faceless reels that can be very successful. Also, chat GPTs are coming along with their graphics are getting better. So that might be a way to go. So leverage technology to, if you're stuck on something, leverage technology. ChatGPT is great for coming up with the words. Most people at this point, I think, know that. So if you're stuck on the words, just give it your layman's version. Look, I'm trying to make a post, and this is what I know what I'm trying to say, and it sounds like a second grader wrote it, but make it sound better. And let's not have an emoji every other letter. that's the one thing I'd say is make it real to you. Go back and make it sound like your words. All right, the last tip is for businesses who are seasonal and you have a insane busy season. That reminds me of my client Heather. She's a Christmas designer. So from around October until around February, she is in full swing Christmas mode. We're gearing up, we're booking, we're getting our clients scheduled, we're buying our materials, she's like, and then she's going in, she's doing the designs, and then she's doing the takedowns after Christmas, and then she's winding down. So I think that's about a 5-month window where her brain is not in let me make posts. It's in I got to get this stuff done because she's on a timeline. So what I suggested for her was take pictures during your season, take video during your season, just collect it, and then in your off season, turn it into posts, okay? And you can pre-schedule those posts as well as you can have somebody else schedule it. Like if you really don't want to and you're just busy, but you have the content and they can just post it for you, that's fine too. But do it seasonally. So you'll create your posts on a monthly basis in your off season, but then you're going to, right before your busy season, you're going to ramp up and you're going to do your posts for the entire busy season and have as many of them done. Even if like you might normally post like 4 or 5 days a week, maybe instead what you do is you schedule your posts out 3 days a week just to get stuff out there. And if you happen to make an extra post a week, yay. And if you don't, that's okay too. So there are some really key things you can do there to help streamline and automate your business in a way where you're planning this stuff. The trick is finding the time and sitting down and doing it. So I certainly hope that helps. And if you really like this video, please like and subscribe. And be sure to check us out at bizinaboxsolutions.com.